Hello, hello, and welcome to the Passionate Power Couple Summit. I am your host, Latoya J.R. Borders, and today is going to be a super great day because you have no idea who this woman is, but you are going to get to know her and love her just like I do. Miss Ashley, how are you doing?
I am doing wonderful. How are you doing this morning?
I am good. I am good. I am happy that we got to get on. It felt like I wasn't going to get you, and I'm so glad that I did because they're going to get so much value from this conversation. Can you let them know who you are and what it is that you do?
Oh my gosh, well, I do a lot, but you guys probably care that I am an award-winning luxury event designer. So I've been planning weddings and events for almost 11 years as of January. So I guess I'm just a couple months shy of being 11 years, but I'm definitely over a decade at this point.
I love it. A decade in this game, that means you've been seeing a lot of things.
Yes,
Okay, so
lots and lots of,
go ahead, what'd you say?
I just said lots and lots and lots of couples.
um, so my first question is, what do you think people are expecting when they get married?
Um, okay, it's kind of difficult because I think if you come out of a traditional household with two parents, I think you expect to have a relationship much like your parents had. So you expect them to be together forever, to compromise, maybe to have traditional roles inside of the household, being able to build something together. And so I think a lot of times when people come out of traditional households, they realize that there are ups and downs, and you stick with the person literally through everything: sickness, health, trials with your children, whatever's going on with your family, and you're each other's support system and friends, and it's a long-lasting love relationship. Um, Sometimes my couples who didn't have the luxury of growing up in a traditional household, they have some struggles because they both have two complete different expectations of what marriage should be, and a lot of times they think marriage should be whatever they've seen on TV and movies, and it's very glamorized, and they feel like, almost like there's never a bad day now that you've met your soulmate or your person, and that you're never, and they don't, I feel like sometimes they don't realize that they're going to be outside things, not necessarily like an infidelity or anything like that, but just outside stresses of life. So bills, or maybe if you're having a blended family, or if someone gets, like, life or death ill. Almost anyone I know that's been married actually for an extensive amount of time, one of their partners has gone through a tremendous health scare at some point in time, or overwhelming surgery, or some major life-changing event. So TV doesn't show how you get through that type of stuff. And so I think if you don't grow up in a traditional household, you haven't necessarily had a model to see day in and day out of really when the sun is here versus when the rain is there, and then versus when the storm is there. So it depends. So I feel like people who haven't seen a traditional household, sometimes they're expecting it to be almost like a Leave It to Beaver situation. And and people who grew up with both parents in the household, and their parents have been married, for like 30, 40 years, stuff like that, I think that they have a more well-rounded view of what a marriage is. And it seems to me that those couples definitely have more defined roles as well of what they expect with one another.
I love that. I feel like realistic expectations is sometimes lacking if there isn't that traditional household that you grew up in, because you kind of are going off what you see off TV thinking that that's real, and that's a lot of fantasy. So my next question is, you've been in this wedding planning game for over a decade, and you've seen a lot of marriages, and you are at the perfect part of it, the beginning, which I think is always like the greatest part of the journey because you get to like imagine together.
Yeah.
But what is one thing that you observe between couples who stay married and couples who don't? What is the thing, is the one difference that you see?
The couples that they made are considerate of one another. They are very concerned with making sure, even when they're planning the wedding, making sure that their partner gets what they want and what they desire. And I literally have seen, you know, men who will say, you know, it literally could have been one request that they wanted with the wedding. And if it messes with the budget, they'll say, well, I don't have to have that because I want her to have what she wants, you know? And then that same woman will come back to me in secret and say, well, I really want to make this happen for him. That's the only thing he wanted. And, you know, I want him to be happy too. This is for him just as much as it's for me. And these women will go and get like little extra jobs. They'll start working, you know, additional hours, or they'll say, well, what can I cut back? And we just won't tell him that I cut back something on my side. He can have what he needs, and vice versa. And then these are some of the same men. They'll call me and they're like, well, her favorite flower is really this, or this is her favorite color, or this is what her mom and her dad used to dance to all the time. So can we plan this surprise for my bride to be? They're always super considerate of one another, the couples that make it. The couples that I see, and I hate to seem cynical, but I mean, I haven't been wrong yet, unfortunately. But the couples that don't make it, they don't have as much fun with one another as the couples that make it, and they're not as considerate of one another. It's almost like a power struggle. You know, I want this, and you know, I'll notice that they're really quick to say, well, you got this and you got that, so I should be able to have this. Or, you know, or sometimes women will say, well, it's my day, I'm the bride, you're the groom, you don't matter anyway. It's more of a power struggle, and they're more focused on what I want instead of what we want and how I can make this experience good for you. So that's mainly the difference that I see in those couples.
I love that. It's like the couples that have fun together are friends. It's like a friendship because you're considerate of your friend. The people who are like, nah, it's about me. It's like a self-centered type of world. So going into a marriage feeling that way that could be destructive from the beginning. I can feel that. Okay, so we're going to hop right into these other questions. Which area do you feel? Because I know you're going to be getting married pretty soon. That's going to happen. I already feel that in my spirit. Which area do you receive it? Which area do you feel is important or most paramount to staying connected to your spouse? Mentally, spiritually, emotionally, or physically?
I feel like it's the spiritual, because I feel like if the spiritual is in alignment, then everything else lines up. My daddy has always said this to me, and I thought it was very profound, because he and my mom met in high school, and November of this year, they'll be married for 33 years. And he's always, when you are growing with a person and you've been with them, you grow together. You make a decision. You guys either you can grow together or you can grow apart. And so if you can stay aligned spiritually, I think if we're equally yoked, then you understand why I'm making the decision that I'm making, and you understand what I'm working for, and you understand why our household needs to be set up the way that our household needs to be set up. And if we're in a line and we're in peace, well, then we're both happy with one another. So then physically we want to be with one another. I don't want to keep it from you, and you don't want to keep it from me because you're mad. No, we're both happy. We're on the same page. I think it makes communications easier because we both understand the major reason or the major motivation for why we're doing things and our fundamental belief system. And I think that it helps a lot on the monetary side because, again, if you're aligned spiritually, a lot of times you're considerate of the other person, and you're not going to go and make major decisions anyway out of your ego or out of self just because you, and not, really thinking about how does this affect my household or my spouse, or, what other plans we had in the future.
Wow. You just really brought something home for me. I did grow up in a traditional household, but my parents divorced. Love them though. And I can see so much more wisdom and just insight into a good marriage from somebody who's grown up in a traditional household with a healthy marriage as an example. When you get married, you're going to go into it so many more steps ahead of another person who never got a chance to see that. That is such a blessing.
It definitely is. And I've always seen my parents care about one another, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like just little stuff like my daddy is taking my mama to see Patti LaBelle, and she's super excited. And I think they're going next week. Yeah, next week or the week after. And he was like, I can't believe I let her talk me into this. I don't even like Patti LaBelle, but he's going to take her because that's what she wants to do and that's what she wants to see. And then there are things that she'll do, you know, watching football all day on a Sunday. She don't care about football like that, but my dad loves football. So, so, you know, she does it. And it's not like she does it begrudgingly. You know what I mean? They both see one another happy, whether it's something as small as like ironing somebody's clothes, or he literally shows up random sometimes at the house with flowers, and he knows my mama's favorite flower is tulips. Or if he doesn't know what to get her for a birthday, he calls me and my sister and he says, okay, well, what do I get your mama? You know what I mean? Like, you know, and she'll call us and say, well, what has your daddy been dropping hints about? What does he want? So just the fact that after, you know, 35 years together and 33 years of marriage, that they actually still care about trying to make the other person happy. That says a lot, you know, to me, in the type of work that it takes. And I think a lot of times it's easy with our generation to get caught up with your ego and yourself and what you want to demand and getting things your way. But my papa always used to say, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And as I've gotten older, I've realized more of what he means. And for me, it's not really that important to be right. You know, I would much rather be happy in my life.
That is so crazy that you said that. One of the other relationship experts, and she worked with couples for like 5 years, and now she does retreats and all that. She says, her saying is, give up your right to be right. And 90% of your issues will like dissipate if you give up your right to be right. That's so crazy. Look at that. I love that. Okay, so my last question is, and I know what you're going to say already, but I just need them to hear it. What do you think, or do you think you need a vision to have a happy, unique, and extraordinary marriage?
Yes, I do. Not to be cliche, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You have to have some type of vision for your life. That there's no way you're going to make it and not have a vision. You can't just roll through life just kind of happenstance. Now, true enough, you can't plan out every single facet and how everything happens, but you have to know overall where you're going. And I think it's important as a couple to say, this is our vision, these are our goals, this is what we're trying to build together, so that you're both aligned. I think sometimes people get into trouble because they don't really discuss, well, where do you see yourself in 5 years or 10 years? You know, what do you want? How many children do you want? Are you a homebody? Do you like company? You know, are we going to move to a different state away from all of our family? People don't have these types of discussions, and all of a sudden they become issues after they've been married for 2 or 3 years. So I think it's really important to kind of discuss and say, yeah, I do want to have some children, you know, and maybe after we've been married for 2 or 3 years, we can start working on some babies. Or, yeah, I do want a house out on the farm. Or, yeah, because of my career path, I can't do what I want to do in small town USA. So we're going to have to move to a bigger city. And then from there, I'm going to transfer to another city. And I don't plan on coming back here until I retire. Are you okay with that? What are your plans for your life? I mean, this is like major stuff, and people don't talk about it. And then all of a sudden they get frustrated. Like, you know, just the husband or the wife comes in one day and they go, oh, I want to move to San Diego for this job opportunity. And the other spouse is like, wait a minute. You know, I didn't talk about this. I don't want to go to San Diego. All my family and friends and my job is here. You know, so I do think it's important to have kind of like an overall, I guess you would call it like a scheme, and say, you know, what are y'all about and what are we trying to make happen? And so that we can kind of go together and just making sure that person is okay with it.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Me and my husband, I don't like saying accident because I feel like everything has happened for a reason, but we had those conversations at the beginning and they have helped us so much. Just the fact that we wanted to be younger grandparents, we wanted to have our kids really soon. People were like, don't have no kids, y'all only been married for 1 or 2 years. We're like, but we want kids because this is how we want to live our life. Had we not had that in place, other people's ideas of what our marriage should look like could have really affected us a lot. So having that plan not only helps you and your husband just have like a goal, but it also kind of bulletproofs your marriage from other things that you really don't want in it. That's super great.
Definitely.
So you have a free gift for my audience. What's that gift? Tell them about it.
Yeah. If you guys go to eventsbyashlyn.com, come, and of course I'll drop the link to you. We have a free wedding and event designer crash course. So those of you who are engaged, if you are planning your own wedding or and you haven't hired a planner or designer, but I do think everybody should. You ain't got to hire me, but you should hire somebody. But if you're going to go on it on your own, it's really, really helpful because it just kind of gives you the ins and outs of what you should be doing, what you should be expecting. Also, when you get over to the site, there's a freebie. I think right now it's like the free bridal gown guide. And so it gives you 10 amazing tips of things you should be looking for to get the perfect gown. And I also will send the link to that. And not only does it give you that, but it also gives you budget tips. So you have a good idea of what a wedding should cost. And if you are in specific states in the South, we'll give you venue locations. And a lot of people think it's handy because not only does it give the venue guide, but it literally says if you're going to have a wedding at a place like this, expect to spend this amount of money. So a lot of people, it helps them with kind of formulating what we're doing, how many guests we should have, and what my budget should be.
That's great. I've been following this young lady for about 2 years now. She always gives so much value. It's not going to be like when you go online and Google get a free course, it's like a one-hitter quitter. She's going to give you all the information she's saying, and it's going to be overwhelming, but it's going to help you. And I want you to make sure you get that. Also, if you're looking to hire somebody, I'm telling you, I've seen the spaces she's transformed, and it's like amazing. Like, I don't even know no other word of explaining it. Did you turn something bland, boring into something super amazing? So make sure you get that link. Definitely follow her if you're getting married and you need some ideas. She's thebomb.com. And have a great day. Bye.